That's it. Look, there's me live in the little thing. And we're going to say good morning to all the people on Facebook in a moment. So here we go while people are joining us in. Good morning. And let's say good morning to all of our, I feel a little like Mr. Rogers here, but say good morning and wave to all the people who are out there on Facebook, people watching this on YouTube. Some people are watching this after the fact. Some people are watching it. It's amazing how many, we ran some numbers, and the number of minutes of people watching the Saturday service, which is 1 hour a week, it totaled up to a month's worth of minutes. It was pretty cool. So over the entire year.
Yeah, there's a lot of stats you can get from Zoom. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, we did a deep dive. So let me welcome you to the Saturday Inspirational Hour. Isn't that a nice title? The Saturday Inspirational Hour. That was not mine. That was yours. Someone, Leanne just emailed me that. I'm your host, Rabbi Brian. I want to welcome you. And I want to ask us to start this morning by taking a moment towards intention of, like, get yourself in a, if I were to say, let's have a prayerful moment. I want you to think of the same way, like if I said, tense your body up, you would know how to tense your body up. I'm going to ask you to take a moment to do whatever it is that you know it is you do to get yourself in a little bit of a prayerful, thoughtful mind. And that's the goal. And the same way that I can't tell you how to tense your body up, but you just know how to tense your body up because you've been alive, I want to ask you to take a moment to put on your spiritual hat, like to focus yourself. Here's an analogy I heard of it, is to move yourself from being a tourist to moving your mindset to being a pilgrim. You get the difference there, right? A tourist is running from place to place, so is a pilgrim. But the tourist is checking off boxes like, oh, we did this, we did that, oh, I saw that and I ate there. Whereas a pilgrim, whatever it is they find on the way, that's what they were supposed to find. And it's about the journey. So I invite us all to focus ourselves on our spiritual muscle. An announcement first. Our friend Candace, do we see Candace here on screen? She was afraid she wouldn't be able to make it. She got hit by the COVID. She's home. She's breathing all right. But just keep Candace in your thoughts, if you would, please. Also, I want to start, I have this new tradition, and I want to start us off each week, and this is new. I've never done this before, but I thought, hey, if I have the power and the privilege to be hosting a meeting, I want to start every meeting that I'm hosting, that I'm the guy who has the ability to say so. I want to start each meeting by acknowledging the people in the United States, and I apologize, my international friends, I'm focusing this here. I want to start each meeting with listing off the people who were killed at the hands of law enforcement in the last week. Just to give them extra due, and so that we can see. So in this week, on the 20th of April, Micaiah Bryant, age 16, African-American, was killed by law enforcement in Columbus, Ohio. And the next day, on 4/21, Andrew Brown, age 40, African-American, was killed by law enforcement in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. And I hope next week not to be reading any names. But I'm pretty sure I will be. And I think it's a way of drawing some attention to what we all know is a really big problem. And again, as I have the privilege, and I would ask you, if you're running a meeting this week, to think about maybe using your privilege to lift up some people whose voices need to be heard. Those who are, I don't have to say anymore. You understand what I'm saying. Okay, quick first announcement. Technical difficulty we had last week. Remember I had you put into the chat if you won a prize last week because of the and the prizes were these cards? Well, when I left the meeting and I gave the hosting to Alex, it doesn't automatically save the chat.
Oh.
So I'm going to ask you, Scout's Honor, if you won one of these cards last week, would you please put your name and address in the chat or shoot me an email and I will send you this. I apologize, but we lost record of who won the cards last week. So please to do that. Also, prizes this week go to... before we get to prizes. This is an open public service, and I love the fact that we have people who are of all different ages here. I ask us not to... just to be aware. People might use language that other people might find to be offensive. If you brought a little one with you, you are responsible for that little one, and I'm putting the onus not on everyone for changing their language, but just to help your little one out and help them understand if there's language that's used here that they might find funny. Talk about it afterwards. This is a great opportunity. Also, speaking of little voices, sometimes we don't hear from some people have quieter voices than others, and some of us talk more than we need to. So I'm going to ask us today to please try to keep our ears open for the little voices. And also thank you guys all for monitoring your own microphones. I love having the open chat so that you can interrupt, you can say hi, but also thank you for keeping yourself muted if you know there's some noises going on. Announcements. Open. Oh, after this service, we will be having 3 different breakout rooms, and you're invited to that. There's going to be the donut time with Joe, deep dive with Kip, and then the third room, which we're experimenting with. We're going to call it for today. We're going to call that room the Open Chat Non-Structured Social Hall. The Open Chat Non-Structured Social Hall. That will be a non-led group, and we'll see. If you just want to hang out with someone after the service, shoot them a message. Say, I'll see you in the non-structured social hall after the event. So invite people to that. All right, following up about things. Oh, we are perfectly on time. This is doing really well. Here's the thing about running a non-structured service. Yeah. I don't know how long things are going to take, but as of right now, we're doing great. I want to follow up a little bit about something that was said last week. There was something said last week that we were talking about perspective. And I mentioned, and tell me if you remember this, I mentioned if you get your head in the right place, you can turn a complaint into a commitment. How many of you remember that from last week? I got a few hands there. A few people remember that. And I got some comments and questions from people, and I looked into it, and I did a little bit of a, how's this work? So this is how it works. And if we do it right, and this is the hypothesis, the goal, is, and the reason we thought of this is it came from a quote from Balthazar Gracian that said, the wise get more use from their enemies than a fool from their friend. The wise get more use from their enemy than a fool from their friend. And I commented that I had once heard from a teacher named David Ellis. He said, you can turn a complaint into a commitment. And I had a hard time wording it last week. Here's how it goes. Can you think of a time that somebody complained about you? Not a complaint you had about other people. But can you think of a complaint? Show of hands. How many, you don't have to say it out loud. How many of you can think of a complaint someone made about you recently? That's fantastic. That's about half the people. Okay, great. Here was the fun thing. How many of you, it took a moment to think of what it was? And how many of you was it fast? How many was it took a moment to think about what it was? That's the really funny thing to me. So just watch this. When that complaint happened, I'm pretty sure it was the only thing that you could think about. And when that person complained to you, I bet you were all about it because it was, and then now that it's not that time, it's like, oh wait, no, I know someone complained about me. What was it now? And it seems to me that's just interesting. So let me get back to it. The complaint somebody made about you And if you can see it the right way, and this is this quote, you can see that their complaint is actually a commitment to you. And I'll give an example. I got an email, and this is going to be an easy example, but that's how we start. We start with easy examples. I got an email from, well, it looked like it was an email from a friend, but then I was pretty sure that it was spam because I got a really long link, and the email, and all it said in the subject line was, "Your website sucks," and then there's this long link, and then it has my friend's signature line on it. And so I sent an email from a different account because I don't want to trigger anything so that the spam bots know that I'm alive and there. So I sent him a note going, "Dude, I think your account was hacked." He said, "No, your website sucks."
Oops.
Okay, so but he wasn't wrong. Right? His complaint about my website leading people in 40 different directions, once he explained it, I understood what he was saying. That his complaint was actually a commitment to me. It was a commitment to religion outside the box. It was a commitment to helping me do what it is that I want to do. So his complaint, this is an easy example, of course, his complaint wound up being a commitment. So think about that thing someone complained to you about. About half of you had a thing that someone complained to you about. Can you think of how you can reframe that complaint that they're complaining about you? Again, going back to this quote from Balthazar Gracian, can you think about how that complaint is actually a commitment to you? Anyone got one of those?
Just keep.
You want to work one out? Do you have maybe there's someone who feels brave who wants to bring a complaint to light, and maybe we can all see if we can work it into a commitment. Anyone feeling brave that way? Or I can just keep talking.
Ruth has her hand up.
Thanks, Ruth. Oh, there you are. Hi, Ruth. You're on mute, my friend. Go ahead.
I have a friend who lives in Seattle. She told me last week that she needs hearing aids. So I went into overdrive, which I always do, and I sent her slews of information. And she finally wrote me back, and she said, "Thank you very much. I'm feeling overwhelmed." And I wrote her back promptly, and I said, "I understand. Forget what I wrote you, what I sent you. I sent her scads of links and things to do, etc." And I stopped and I said to myself, "You really have to remember that people who are getting hearing aids for the first time don't know what you know after 40 years dealing with it.
Right.
You have to go in a lot more slowly and a lot more gently."
That was very nice.
She's committed to doing this, and in her way of saying, thank you for the information, but for God's sake, shut up.
But she had nice manners about it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that one. Marcus, what do you got? Marcus? I lost you, buddy.
Sorry, I was unmuting myself. I'm not really sure how this is a commitment.
Oh, great. What is the complaint? Someone says a complaint to you, and they said...
They said, I don't make a good government employee because I'm not impartial enough.
So their complaint to you was you were not impartial enough. Oh, I know you, because you get your heart all up in your work. Yeah, okay. And so the complaint was that you're not impartial enough. And what was the commitment? Can anyone help out? Are you up for hearing from what other people? How might you hear that as a commitment? How might we hear that as a commitment instead? Hannah, I don't know if you're answering that question or you had something else to answer.
No, I'll answer that question.
Go for it, Hannah.
I wonder if, well, it would depend on who it was coming from, but if the person in question was someone you fully respect, and was hoping to save you some pain from throwing yourself into things and.
So maybe it was a commitment because they're trying to help and protect your heart.
Yeah.
Now, I would say something a little bit different, Hannah. And you started at the beginning of it depends if they were like on your side or not. Depends on your relationship with them. And I would venture to say that if we're going to take the Balthazar quote all to mind, that it wouldn't matter if they were on our side or not, because it was that a wise person gains knowledge, gains wisdom, even from the person who's criticizing them, more than the fool gets from their friend. All right, so let's keep going. Michael Burrows, I don't know why you are full screen on my screen, but hello. Do you have something to add, or I don't know? I am having a technical difficulty here. Alex, there we are. I like that that's my first thing is just to call Alex. Betsy Weston, what do you have?
Okay, yesterday I and my daughter were getting my raised beds ready for putting a garden in, and there were plants left from last year that I was really working on trying to figure out how to save those last leaves from the kale that still and so on and I was taking the leaves off and making them into bundles, putting them on a free place out in front of my yard and everything and my daughter said, and she gave me a quote that I said, this is such a good quote. I've got to take it to Rabbi Brian.
Oh boy.
She told me it is not your job to see that every single thing on planet Earth is appreciated.
Oh, okay.
and so that shows her commitment to help me kind of get perspective on some of these things, and that it's okay to just throw things in the compost occasionally.
Yeah, and I love it, Betsy, and I would say that also means that sometimes something that stings somebody who complains about you, you're not always going to be able to take it as a commitment. You're not always going to be able to take it as a compliment. Sometimes the shitty things other people say are pretty hurtful. Gotcha. All right. Anything more we want to say about turning complaints into commit? Oh, I did have something I wanted. Wait, hold on. Now I lost my notes there. Please hold. We started with a complaint of you. We did that. Oh, so here's what I wrote. I said, they said it's hard because... Wait, why did I write that? Oh, because sometimes... Here is it. That sometimes it's the person who you think or truly ought to be. Sometimes it's the person who ought to be the one giving you love and giving you compliments who's giving you criticism. Right. And that can get really triggering because the person who's supposed to be giving you love, helping you make connection, if that's the person who's complaining about you, and I'm going to put it into some math here for a moment. There's a magic formula that goes like this. In parenting, in teaching, in relationships, you are supposed to have 4 to 1, and these are supposed to be neutral and positive moments, to 1 criticism or complaint. That's the ideal ratio. And they can judge marriages based on how well the couples do this. That there are 4 neutral to positive comments for every 1 criticism or complaint. And a neutral or positive comment, okay, Annie, ready? Now you're going to find out if you didn't already know that Mom and I were up to this. Is that sometimes we'll walk into the room and go, oh, look at that, Annie. You're doing your homework. Why did we do that? Well, first of all, so that she knows that she's seen. That's just a neutral comment. So that later when I say, honey, can you hold your fork the other way? That's a criticism. And I want to put as many things in the bank for neutral and positive so that when the criticism and complaints are necessary or the corrections are necessary, it's not the only thing the person's hearing. And unfortunately, a lot of us have had moments and have had instances with people where we hardly even get one neutral or positive for every 4 negative criticism or complaint from that person. And that can be really, really difficult. Especially if you can't leave that person. Related to them, live with them, work next to them. It can be very, very hard to deal with people who don't know the rule. They don't know they're supposed to be doing it in a 4-to-1. They're doing it less than 1-to-4. So, okay. I wrote that can be very triggering when the ratio of corrections and complaints to compliments is less than 4-to-1. Okay, good. Anything else we need to add about complaints becoming commitments before we move on? Because prizes are coming up. All right. Prizes. Prize time. This week's prize, please hold. I will tell you about this week's prize as soon as I tell you about the 2 committees that are forming. We have 2 committees that are forming. We have the Kindness Follow-Up Committee. The Kindness Follow-Up Committee was a few weeks ago. We talked about kindness, and we did not finish talking about kindness. And there are some people who said, hey, I kind of want a kindness buddy, somebody who I can check in with. If you want to help organize the Religion Outside the Box Kindness Follow-Up Committee, please let me know, and we'll see what we can do. I really want to do much deeper. I want to go further on this idea of kindness, and that's going to lead into the prize for today. But the other committee that's starting is the Shekhinah Council. Now, that might not be a word that a lot of you know. Shekhinah. Do I have anybody here who can give me a good Hebrew what the Shekhinah is?
Spell it.
I wish I could, Emily. I have a hard enough time spelling English words.
Presence of God, understood in a female form, but it's the word comes from Shechan, to dwell, and the Shekhinah dwells with us wherever we are, so you don't have to be in the temple or in a synagogue. Anywhere you are, God is.
Right. The Shekhinah is, if I would translate Shekhinah, it would be close to the Holy Spirit, but it's a Jewish version of the Holy Spirit, and sometimes people will call it the Shekinah, which is just a different way of saying the transliteration of this word. So the Shekhinah Council is a group of people who, because I don't think in this service, and this is something we're going to be talking about in a minute, that we've been talking that God word. We do have a holiness. We do some holy work in what we're doing. This is the point of this service. But we don't always, so people who are on the Shekhinah Council's job is to help to remind me to keep God in this, and this is not just a lecture, that this is a religious service. So if you want to be on the Shekhinah Council, or if you already are on the Shekhinah Council and I didn't know, please let me know. Okay, I got you, Marcus. Send an email, though, because I can't keep track otherwise. Appreciate that. So that's the Shekhinah Council. And then kindness. Kindness Follow-Up Committee would do. Here is our prize for the day. It's going to take a second to focus. It is a loving kindness. Oh, come on. There it is. Your very own loving kindness merit badge. If you, in this last week, have shown loving kindness and deserve a loving kindness merit badge, Jeff Horner, you already have one. That's fantastic. If you feel like you deserve a loving kindness merit badge, would you please put your name and address into the chat? You can do that privately to me, or you can do it to everyone, and you'll get a loving. Or if you haven't been loving and kind this week, but you really think you need to be, put your name in the chat and we'll send you a loving kindness merit badge, because we know that you're going to be filled with loving kindness coming up. Good? That's also our intergenerational prize today. Hold on. Our intergenerational prize today. where do I have my intergenerational people? I got parents and children here together. If you are in the intergenerational group, our prize for today, this is a really big one, guys. We're going to have a whole service about this later. There it is. It is a certificate of absolution.
I got mine in the mail, Rabbi Brian.
Say that again?
I got mine in the mail.
You did?
So thank you.
Oh, good, Hannah. So
Yes.
if you are in the intergenerational club and you did not yet get a certificate of absolution and you would like one, please put your name in so that we know to send you a certificate of absolution. The little fine print on the certificate of absolution, I can't just give away absolution. It has to be purchased. I can't charge people for it with money because that seems wrong. Kind of like those indulgences of past. So here's how this works, is that the way you buy the absolution is you buy it with the guilt that you still have after trying to make amends for whatever thing it was you did wrong. Is that not pretty brilliant? It took me about 12 years to figure that out.
And keep the change.
Oh, I love that phrase, and keep the change. Extra point to Rita for being extra witty this morning. Thank you, Rita. While I'm in slight announcements, so we got the hearts, we got that, committees we talked about. If anyone out there is the kind of person who enjoys or would feel it would be helpful and they'd sleep good at night, or they want to help religion outside the box, and you know how to write grants. I was told by someone that what I'm doing is the kind of thing that the people who give grants would love to do. So I'm looking for a grant writer who is willing to work for the price of free 99. So if you know anybody, please let me know. Going back to
Aviva in the chat just posted, I got you for grant writing.
Oh, thank you, Aviva. You and I can talk.
She gets a badge this week for kindness.
Okay. So here's the way that's going to work: is if you have a badge, you can send it to her, and I'll take care. I always feel weird about other people giving away my badges, but you know what? That's fine, Emily. I'm going to take that back, and we're going to send it to her. Here was a question. Here was a thought that came from last week. Oh, we're at 8:30. Dang it! I wanted to really talk about this God thing. So let's do some 7 minutes to talk about this God thing. But before we do so, we're going to do the raffle tickets. And the raffle tickets always go like this. Annie, do you have the sheet? Are you able to? So raffle tickets go to people who feel like they did something in the past week for which, they're kind of proud. This week, the first raffle ticket is going to me. And I'm going to tell you why. First raffle, I'm taking a raffle ticket this week because after 20 years of trying to figure out how to do this religion outside the box, I look and I see that I've been able to figure out, and I wrote down notes here, how to run a 60-minute dogma and liturgy-free service that is God-neutral and enjoyed by many people. And I'm super proud of that. And taking a moment, so I'm giving myself a raffle ticket for that. So thank you, Annie, for that. Also, I want to share, I figured out this is just interesting, and I put it in with my raffle ticket, I figured out how I'm measuring some success here. And it's a weird thing to do, is like, what do you measure? How do you know that you're doing well? What's the metric? What's the metric that you're judging it on? And I realized there are two things that I care to judge the service on. Not on the number of people who are showing up, which would be the easy, obvious thing to do. Not by how many of you stay after for donuts. That's all. We can measure all that. But what I'm measuring the service on is two things. One, how calm do I feel on Thursday about the service on Saturday. And the calmer I feel on Thursday about the service on Saturday, that's a metric that I want to make sure that I feel calm going in. And the other metric that I'm going with that I'm really enjoying is the number of intergenerational people who show up to a service. Because to me, that says that this is a thing worth doing. If parents and children are doing it together, that's pretty flippin' cool. So if you have something else that you would like to get a raffle ticket for, would you please in the chat either do it directly to Annie if you want to keep it on the down low, you don't need everyone to know why it is you deserve a raffle ticket today, or if you want, put it in the main chat and we can all see what it is that you deserve your little raffle ticket for. And the raffle is coming up in May. On our 1-year anniversary, we're going to be having a raffle, and we're going to have prizes, because prizes. It's awesome. We're going to shoot over to announcements with Maria. Here come the announcement song. Maria, I hope you're ready.
Saturday service announcements.
All right, Maria, there you are. Thank you. We're going to pin you on the screen.
All right. Well, my name is Maria, and I'm the announcer for the Saturday service on April 24th, 2021. I'm going with the easy date. All links in the announcement that I'm reading right now will be up in the chat. The ROTB Clubhouse. Soon, we will have another way to hang out and explore together. Rabbi Brian is working on a religion outside the box clubhouse. It's like a mini dedicated and not creepy at all private Facebook group for ROTB members only. You'll be able to post when you need a friend or accountability, not my word, or if you want hired for someone. Within the clubhouse will be a message board where we will be able to post about that week's newsletter and continue conversations about themes from the service. And there will be private rooms for classes like Rabbi Brian's 6-week spiritual Jedi ropes course or the God Anon Lounge. On to Chats with Larry. Chats with Larry podcast is one of the best ways to introduce friends to Rabbi Brian. You can have them Google the words Chats with Larry, and then they can listen in on the long-form podcast on Spotify, iTunes, and Google Play. And you might like it too. Donations. A donation to Religion Outside the Box came in yesterday with a note. Thank you for you, and thank you for the Saturday inspirational hour. It's very helpful to me. So this is a simple ask. Please donate. Donations keep ROTB goodness open and for the most part free and wonderful for thousands of people each week. If you haven't yet, please send in a contribution. Or be a good consumer and overshop the ROTB Etsy store. Don't you know a few people who might benefit from those beautiful certificate of absolutions that Rabbi Brian showed us earlier? So shop ROTB merchandise or donate. Either is great. The Be There Then meeting at 2 p.m. Pacific time on weekdays on Zoom, Facebook, or YouTube. There's 20-minute meditation. So be there then. Right, James?
I thought that was very clever on the Be Here Now.
It is.
Keep going, Maria. You're doing great.
Okay. Right to James. Want to do something holy? Right to James in High Desert State Prison. Rabbi Brian and James have been writing for nearly 15 years. They met through their mutual Buddhist teacher, Nagy. It's easy to start with the words, "This is awkward so far, writing to you." Appreciation time. Oh, yes, I said appreciation time. Appreciation time. I'm supposed to make up a theme song. Anyways, thank you to the following people for the following things. Kip, the deep dive master. Joe, donut hostess and chat moderator. Alex, technical assistance. Lee, note taking. Tony Ann, liturgy support. You, because it's you, and you are doing a pretty darn good job. If anyone wants to list an ROTB member you are appreciative for in the last week, email Rabbi Brian and he'll add them to the list. And now back to you. I'm not going to say some of these, but I get to choose which one I want, so I'm just going to go with Rabbi.
Well, thank you. What you guys don't know, and thank you, Maria, is that Maria's script was peppered with little places that says improvise something here. So I tried something new. Thank you, Maria. Thank you.
Great job.
Yeah, thank you, Maria.
Model for everyone.
So last week, we have to talk about this. It's time. We're talking about this. I want to talk all about wisdom, but we have to talk about this. Last week, I took the Serenity Prayer, and with the help of Rob and with the help with Tom, we changed the Serenity Prayer. Wait, hold on one second there. All right. We found that hot microphone. So we redid the Serenity Prayer. We talked about the hacker version of the Serenity Prayer. We talked about the slacker version of the Serenity Prayer. What we didn't talk about was the fact that in this Serenity Prayer, the rabbi removed the God word. And that might have brought up some other issues of, hey, rabbi, first of all, you're a rabbi. And you're running a service, and the organization's called Religion something, something, something. What's with the lack of use of the God word? Because that's like, what? And I want us to. I don't have a framework exactly how to have this discussion, but I want to talk about it, because for me, that using that word, I find it to be like putting a magnet in among metal shards. Like it moves things around, and I've been trying to keep this service God word free, to keep it as neutral and open as possible. But that could be triggering and weird for some people. And so I wanted to just to start us talking about this, about the elephant in the room being the fact that the rabbi's not talking much about the God word in the service. So, like, Rabbi, what gives? How's this work? And I know better than what I'm doing right now, which is you're supposed to start with a question everyone can answer and then build up to harder level questions. And right now, I just started us right in with, hey, Rabbi, what's up with that? Which is a pretty deep level of looking at it. But how we feel? Was it awkward for people to cross God off of the Serenity Prayer? Is it awkward at all for some people that I'm not using the God word in this service? Because to me, it feels like something. Yeah. So, I like Tom. Tom, you win. Tom has both thumbs up and thumbs down at the same time. How many of you feel like Tom? And give me this if you're feeling like I'm good with it and I'm bad with it at the same time. Is kind of a thing. Okay, it's a little bit odd. Michael, Michael, do you have some commentary? Because you and I have had a similar teacher. Yeah. And you had him in person. I only know of him through you and through writings.
Writings, yeah.
So talk to us a little bit. What does it mean the rabbi of the Saturday service ain't using the God word? What's that? Give us some thoughts.
Well, a couple thoughts. One is. I definitely appreciate bringing this topic up, and an idea I have is maybe a weekly making sure there's some time just to talk about it. It is very complicated.
It's really complicated.
Very complicated, but it's also a glaring reality.
Right. And for not talking about it is talking like I'm saying a lot by not talking about it, so that's why we're here.
So giving some space, like time, like you give announcements or something. I don't know. It should have a space, I think. And one last point, because you brought up a common rabbi philosopher that has influenced both of us, at least I know.
Yeah.
That is, we're certainly. I'm a reformed rabbi. Ryan, we went to the same yeshiva, the same rabbinical school. And there really only was one. Well, there were two main theologians. One that was most attracted to me, and I always sensed that it was important to Brian. This is why I keep showing up. Is that we are a unique form of religion here, and we have a right to own that. And this is a religion. It's liberal in the sense of being free. And it's also liberal in the sense of being acknowledging theological discussion as subjective. And
let me jump in there if I can for a second, Michael. This might be very strange if you didn't grow up in a Jewish culture. In a Jewish culture that you don't have to have believed in God, and you're still in the club. And a lot of forms of Christianity are quite binary. And if you don't profess a belief in God, whether you believe it or not, but if you don't at least even mouth the words, you're out of the club. And in Judaism is just a different structure, has a different feel than that. Steve Preskind, what do you have to add? Thank you, Mike.
I'm a fellow disciple of the same professor.
Yeah.
And I did my rabbinic thesis under him. The notion, though, is that the word is very complicated. And we bring so much baggage with it, because we all have very narrow definitions, and the word has multiple definitions and multiple ways of being understood. I find God to be very present in your service, even if God isn't mentioned.
Right. There's that great quote from Jung. He said, "Bidden or not bidden, God is present." So whether or not you use the word God, God's still here.
And to be able to speak of God in a way that doesn't exclude people who have trouble with the word or force people to a specific definition is complicated work. And I don't know if we have the time within the Saturday morning hour to address it well. I see you do it in your column. But to bring it into Saturday morning would require a space, which probably would be useful.
So in the clubhouse, this is part of why I wanted to start the Gadanon Lounge in the clubhouses. And there was a class I once taught, and I would be glad to revive this class. It was a class I once taught called "God is Dead and I Don't Feel Too Good Myself." I would love to hear from other than older white rabbis. Older white male rabbis. Because I know we got some theologians. Yeah, Rita, what do you have, my friend?
Well, this was part of my time in the deep dive last week. I said, well, why don't we just call him George? I mean, I believe there is something bigger than all of us, and it's either quantum theory or what. But I think God because that's just what I've heard all along. But it doesn't matter. The name. What I think got upset me was that you say the G word like some people used to say the N word. That was
Okay, I hadn't heard it that way. Thank you.
But I think there is something larger than we know.
Yeah.
A metaphor is the only thing we can use.
Absolutely.
And everybody has their own metaphor. But the bottom line is the same. There is, I think, a spark of divine in everybody.
Yes.
I
had not realized.
Release that. Help release that.
Rita, I apologize. I don't think I had realized how saying it the God word would sound like the F word or the N word, or how it would have such a negative spin to it. And you're right, George has got a much nicer sound to it. This is, of course, a topic that we will never exhaust. But I thank us for bringing that. Bob and Tom, I'm gonna pause us there because I want to get towards something else. But I do also want to say one of the things that I'm to run the service and to not require the word God as God, to me it has been freeing, and it's been a goal, and I don't want the absence of it to mean that this isn't all about God, but I also want to be very, very sensitive, because there's so many people for whom the word God is really triggering, and I don't want any of those people, and I know this because I have been one of those people where the rabbinical school, if you use the word God to mean an external active force in the world, I would go philosophical and go all wiggy on you, and I'd be like, how can you say that? So I have a real soft spot in my heart for anyone, for any not. Okay, I'm going to just stop babbling here and bring us to the point that I was trying to get to. This helped me a lot. If I look at it this way, here's beauty. The goal of beauty, I'm sorry, I started it wrong. The goal of art is to achieve beauty. The goal of science is to get towards truth. And the goal of religion is to get at God. And these are all the same analogy. Because you can't define beauty, and nobody even tries. You just know it when you see it. You can't define truth, we know that, but science gets us towards it. Art gets us towards it, and religion gets us towards whatever this thing is that we can't quite define. So I'm going to leave that as how I'm... Okay, good. I did what I said I wanted to do in my note there. Hooray.
Brian, could I ask you a favor?
Yeah.
That you bring this up again another time.
Yeah, that's also, Michael, you are officially on the Shekhinah Council, because this, I want to have people helping me to remember that the silence can be really deafening.
Good.
It does give me a good chance. If you are interested, I do have a book called My Fun Theology Workbook, which is a way of finding out what the God of your understanding wants from you. It's a workbook. It's pretty. It's in plain, simple English. It's in my style. I wrote it. And also, I will be running a course in the clubhouse to help people, the God and On Lounge, to help people if you want to do a look into God stuff with other people in a small group, as opposed to doing individual spiritual direction. There are some great advantages to doing this in a group.
There was a request in the chat for the name of the rabbi that the three of you know.
Yeah, so his name is Alvin Reines, Reines. He wrote in great paragraphs of brilliance and is sometimes, to me, unintelligible. So I did much better listening to Michael explain to me what Reines talked about than to understand Reines, and to hear his widow, Hera. It can explain.
Could I just give could I give the website?
Please do. Yeah, and then, Rob, I'll get to you.
The website with all his work in it is Polydoxy, Polydoxy, polydoxy.org.
And the idea of polydoxy is we all know the word orthodox. Ortho means straight, dox means belief, and orthodox is this lie that there's a straight belief. There's a one way of doing. And polydoxy is saying, get over it. There's got to be an infinite number of paths. There's there are more than one belief. It's polydoxy. So polydoxy.org. Thank you, Al, for posting that in the chat. Rob, I said I would call on you. What do you got, buddy?
Can you put your colons up again?
Yes, sir.
Because I think that art is compared to beauty.
Art is a path to help us understand and get towards beauty.
Right. Okay, so art is also a path to get towards truth and God.
Yes, Rob. Thank you for bringing that up. These are synonyms for each other. These are all the same thing.
All three.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for yes. I think that's important. These are all the infinite. They're all impossible. They're all and all infinite
They're all
values
perfect.
are equal. Yes, good. Thank you, Rob. Thank you so much. We are running short on time. We are doing great. I'm having a good time. I do want to look back at wisdom a little bit because the question that I had left for last week is wisdom a choice? And if wisdom is a choice, how do we get more wisdom? And I got some answer. And here's the answer. If wisdom, so here's a hint. There was a hint in the Talmud. The Talmud asks, who is rich? And the answer to who is rich is whosoever is content with what they have. And a lot of people know that quote. And the Talmud asks another quote right afterwards, which says, who is wise? Aha, here's the answer to that. Who is wise? Whoever learns from everything and everyone. Who's wise? Someone who learns from everything. And that goes back to our Balthazar quote. If you learn even from your enemies, you're wise. Because you're learning from, and if you learn from all the mistakes that you make, you're wise. If you learn from everything, you're wise. Now, if learning leads to wisdom, what leads to learning? Aha! I have an answer to that. There's an old Zen story about I used to do this with my students. I would come in with a glass, and sometimes there would be a student who thought they knew everything, and I would take a glass, and this is from an old Zen story, and while I was standing there, and I would pour water into the glass. And I would keep pouring it until it was completely overflowing, and there's water. Now I'm pouring it in, and anything I pour in is pouring onto the floor. And the kid would say, "What the heck are you doing?" And I say, "You are this glass. You are so full with knowing everything that nothing new can get in." And then I would clean up the mess on the floor. How do we learn? We learn because our glass is not full. We learn when our glass is not full. Okay, so here's a quote. Here's the idea. In order to learn, you need one huge quality. You need humility. Because you can't learn if you're so full. And if you have humility, you can learn. And if you can learn, you can get wisdom. And here is a quote that yet a different rabbi friend helped me come up with. Humility is reaching for the hand Lady Wisdom lowered to help mend your broken self. Humility is reaching for the hand Lady Wisdom lowered to help mend your broken self. It takes humility to reach your hand out, to take the hand offered to help you, to say, I am broken and I need more. So the source of wisdom, I think, is humility. We have time. I'm going to rush this, but it's going to happen and we're going to do it and it's going to be awesome. Some of you have done this with me before. We make this beautiful picture. If you haven't done this with me, I apologize. We're going to run through it a little fast. This is a matrix, a change matrix. On the bottom here is not change. On the top is change. Here are the benefits. Here are the detriments. And there are 4 different categories. If we change and we become more wise, we will gain certain things. We changed, we're going to have positives. If we don't change, we're going to have certain negatives. That's this box here. If we don't change, and this is where it gets really fun. You all know these are my 2 favorite squares. If we don't change, there are certain benefits to not changing. So if I don't gain wisdom, I will be able to hold on to the illusion of my competence. If I change, there's going to be a new negative that I didn't even know was going to exist. That's the top right corner. Hold on. There we are. If I get wisdom, I might wind up with a problem I never had before. So let's think about this. If you gain wisdom, yes, yay, you'll have more peace. You'll have a better life. If you don't have wisdom, you're going to have lots of angry days and lots of disappointment because things aren't going the way you want them to go. Those two boxes are easy enough. How about these two boxes? If we change and we become wiser, what might a new negative we've never had to deal with be? If we don't change, if we don't become wiser, what benefit is it to us to not be wiser? If we all would do it if it was just these two boxes, but it's not just these two boxes. We also have to deal with, we have to give up something if we gain wisdom. What is it we have to give up if we gain wisdom?
Stupidity.
We have to give up stupidity. I'm looking for a benefit. Rob, I'm sure you can tell me how that is a benefit to be stupid, but I don't get that one yet. Yeah, Marcus.
I lose my ability to be blissfully ignorant.
You lose. Oh, maybe that's what you're going at, Rob.
Innocence.
Innocence.
Self-righteousness.
That's a good one. Thank you, Ray. I'm going to lose self. If I get wise, I'm going to not be able to be so self-righteous. Okay, I'm out. If I have wisdom, I might have to lose my self-righteousness. I might have to lose my anger. I might have to lose my quick disappointment and how the heck could that be? I might have to lose some of that. This box is delightfully still empty. Okay, we'll think about it.
How do you make a difference between what you're doing with the box, with the not change and the negative box? That's a little confusing.
How these two are different?
No, well, yeah. Well, you've been adding some of the things that may go here in the negative box.
These two can sometimes be mirrors of each other.
Overlap.
They sometimes can. I try to not. Hugh, you have your hand up? No, okay. I'm going to think more about this. We might or might not be getting to this next week, but we are coming towards a time thing. Boy, this was really good. Thank you. I'm giving my being calm up until Thursday, preparing for this good. My yesterday panic of putting all this notes together, I think we did pretty well. Please stick around and continue as part of the community. I'm going to be signing off, and I'm going to be remembering to take the chat with me this time so that I can send you your prizes. Alex?
Yes.
How do I save the chat?
In the chat window at the bottom, there's 3 dots.
Save chat. You're brilliant.
Save chat.
Just did. Thank you so much. Okay, so here's how it goes. If you would like to join the deep dive, well, first let me say thank you because we're going to hang up on all of our friends on Facebook. So let's wave goodbye to our friends on Facebook. Goodbye, Facebook people.
Bye, Facebook people.
Bye, Facebook.
There's the